Alright guys, today is Monday, November 6th, 2023, and I did this intro video a couple hours ago, but when I took the GoPro in a few minutes ago, I went to get a drink and check my emails. I decided I'd go ahead and plug the GoPro in and make sure the video didn't freeze, and it did. It froze. So I didn't get but a minute probably in there. I think it was 56 seconds or something, and the video footage froze up and you can still hear me talking, so right out of the gate even. So kind of sucks. So I'm gonna have to pretty much check all these videos, so kind of sucks. So I've got a mess out here. I've been out here a couple hours already tinkering here, we'll say. I've got a lot of painting to do on little things, so I'm going to be doing some of that today. I'm hoping by Friday maybe this thing will be pretty close to being a roller. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but I'm going to go for it. Anyway, I went ahead and got all the bolts put in the motor mounts up here, the side engine mounts. I went with stainless button head Allens, which are only a grade 2. These aren't really, you don't really want to use those for any kind of structure, especially in a motor mount. But I welded the top of the motor mount to the frame. That is just kind of decorative, but it is kind of a fail-safe if the weld ever failed. I did put grade 8 on the back side, so it has grade 8 hardware on the back with lock nuts and everything. I put the new bushings on here for the upper control arms. Those are Danchuck pieces. I got the rear brake line on. I've got a cap on the end of that rubber brake hose, and I've got to put another one on the end of that. I've got anytime I ever pull a plug or something out of anything, like you get a new part in, it always has, like a power steering pump, it has little plugs and stuff in it. I always throw them in that. So I have vacuum caps and plugs, so it always comes in handy when I need to plug something. But that way I can go ahead and put a cap on the end of that, and you know, no moisture and stuff can get in there and mess up that line. I've got the shackle stuff out here. I kind of thought I might try to put the leaf springs on today. I need to dig them out and look them over real good. So I've got a bunch of brand new hardware stuff here for that. So Steve bought, these are from Woody's, I believe. This is brand new complete shackle unit back here, hangers. These come with urethane bushings, but these were in the box with them, and these are rubber. So I am going to change out the urethane with rubber. I tried urethane bushings once, and I don't remember how long it took before they started squeaking. These things move a lot. These are always constantly moving when you're driving the car. So it didn't take long for it to wear that energy suspension grease off of them. And they started squeaking, and they get really squeaky. They're really loud, obnoxious. So I like to use just the replacement OEM rubber style. You can use whatever you want. I'm just telling you from my personal experience, I always put rubber in here. So anyway, I'm going to be changing those bushings out. It's got brand new hangers because his bolts were originally pitted. So the original ones were pitted. I got new eyelet bushings, or eyelet bolts, I'm sorry. These are Danchuck as well. This is for the front of the leaf springs back there. So all of this stuff back here is all brand new. No used old, you know, on and off stretch bolt crap going to go on back there. So I'm pretty happy about that. He also got this. This is from Woody's as well. This is an idler arm bearing kit. This is a whole unit. You can buy just the bearings and press them in and everything yourself if you want to try to save a little money. But anyway, he bought the complete unit. So it even comes with bolts, which is kind of nice. However, this black oxide coating or phosphate coating or whatever this is, I know from personal experience this stuff always ends up rusting rather quickly. So I'm going to go in and mask off the zinc plating on here, and I'm going to paint this cast iron gray because I think originally they were just cast iron gray. It also will give it a little bit of a color off of the chassis for a little bit of detail. So anyway, idler arm bearing conversion. I highly recommend these. Guys will say that they didn't notice anything, and I don't know how you couldn't, because this is less resistance. If you just put a bushing in here, or new rubber bushing, you will have hell trying to turn that in this by hand. So if it's hard to do by hand, it's going to be hard to do with the steering wheel, you know what I mean? But I know for a fact these work, and I've installed a bunch of these. So he got more stuff here. I told him to get Moog ball joints, so we have upper and lower brand new Moog ball joints going in. So, you know, high quality parts for the front. We also got a new dust shield for the center link, the ball on the the Pitman. And I found these at Tractor Supply. They don't actually say they're stainless, but I am pretty sure that's stainless steel with that gray color. So, I mean, I'm almost 100% these are stainless. But anyway, so this is an assortment, so they have straights, 90s, and 45s. So I'm going to use these in Steve's chassis. That way they won't rust, and it should always be able to take grease. I have a piece of steel rod in the garage on my shelf that is drilled and tapped, and that they screw into it, and that's what I hold on to buff them on the buffing wheel. So I'll polish these so they look like chrome. It won't take me just a second to get a bling factor out of it. And then I've already covered this in a video. This is brand new U-bolts and nuts and washers for the back, for the rear axle. You know, the rear end, it's been, the factory put it in, and then I don't know if it's ever been out before, but we had taken the original rear end out, and then we put a 10 bolt out of a Camaro in it, and then I tightened it back down, and then I ended up taking the rear end back out to do this frame. So I don't like using U-bolts when they've been used that much. It wouldn't be so bad if it was mine, but since it's a customer, I think this was a pretty cheap deal. These do not say on Summit that these are for a Tri-5 Chevy, but that by measuring these, they're pretty much the same as stock. I think they might be a little bit longer, which is not terrible, especially for a stock height car. But if Steve ever decides to put on some the old school traction bars or something, that might be kind of handy having those a little bit longer. I don't know. I haven't put a set of traction bars on a Tri-5 since 1994, so it's been a while. So, just pretty excited. I enjoy bolting stuff on. It's pretty cool. But I don't know if I mentioned, I got the brake line on, and it's on permanently. I anti-seized everything, even the bolts in the transmission brackets that I made and welded to the frame. I have actually welded nuts in the frame first. So these bolt on and they're welded, so it has a secondary fail-safe just in case a weld ever fails. I don't think it ever will. I'm just, you know, when I work on customers' cars, I'd rather over-engineer something than not. You know what I mean? So there's the cross member laying there on a towel. That's single-stage urethane black. That's the same paint that'll be on the A-arms and stuff. So it'll have a lot of bling to it, a lot of detail, especially up here. This is where most of the detail is going to be. Not much caring for that stuff back there, but I want, when the hood's open on this car, I want this to knock people's socks off. So, you know, again, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be clean. It's going to be nice. So, actually, I mean, other than it being dusty from sitting out here for almost a week since I painted it now, you kind of get the idea of looking at it and looking at the finish on the paint. I'll take you back here and show you his original frame. So this is the frame out from under his car, and they had the frame blasted and they just painted it. Now I'm assuming this is probably like a DP90 epoxy or something, and that's just what they used, but you can see how, you know, dull it is, and it's very grainy paint, like very grainy. And you know, all the A-arms, all the suspension was together when they painted it, so all this surface rusted. And then of course there's the old bushings. That's what they end up looking like. Those are originals. So that's a stark difference right there in, you know, before and after type of thing. You can really see the graininess in the paint, but big old run right there. And this is when the hood's up. You see a lot of this right here. So I just wanted to make sure it looked nice. And that was the other thing that I did, was I went in and all this welding slag crap that you see, this is the way the factory always does it. I removed both of those welds, ground everything smooth, and then I put a new little stitch on each one so that it looks a lot cleaner. And then removed all of the welding slag up here on the top. Like, look at that welding slag across there and across there. And when the A-arms are on, you're not going to see that part of it, but there's just slag everywhere. But they cut off this stuff and left it on, which I thought was kind of cheesy. It looks like they tried drilling it, but they just didn't take it off. And then they took a cut-off wheel right there and sliced to cut that off and went into the frame, and didn't go back and try to weld it or anything. But That's a difference right there, before and after. So I think the frame now looks amazing compared to that. I got the steering box back out. This is the one that was on his car, and when they blasted the chassis, they did not remove the steering box or any of the suspension parts and got sand in everything. So I got to go in here and try to clean this up. That's really kind of silly to blast a frame with all the stuff on it. The reason is you're going to wind up with sand in a lot of places, and you know that stuff could have worked up inside that box. There's no telling how many, you know, miles per hour that sand's coming out of a commercial blaster to blast this thing. So all they did was just paint everything. This was bolted on the chassis. They never unbolted it, so it all got painted together. So it doesn't look, you know, detailed at all. It's just all black. It looks like somebody literally spray painted it to me, and that's what I do not want for a finished product. So I'm going to go in here and clean all this up, try to get all the sand and stuff off of this, and I'm going to wax and grease remover it, clean it up nice, and then scuff it down, and I'm going to paint it cast iron gray. And then I will go back and I'm going to remove the plug, I'm going to remove the bolts and this nut, and then I'm going to paint. I'm actually going to paint this cover right here first because it'll be easier to tape off. But this will be, I might do a semi-gloss black on it, and then the rest of this box will get painted cast iron gray. And then when it's done, I'll put some stainless steel button head Allens in here, and it'll look really, really clean. If I have some stainless steel button head Allens, I'll have to look. I don't remember what thread these are. I don't remember if they're coarse or fine. If they're coarse, I most likely have them, but I just don't remember. I'll have to look. And then I'm going to change the plug out with a little stainless steel one that I have here. So the rag joint piece here, they've cut the shaft off and they put a tilt steering column in the car, and it wasn't even completely hooked up when Steve got the car back from him. So this is going to have to be, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, because this is permanently attached to the box now because they've put a weld on one side. It does have a, you know, a set bolt, 2 of them in it, but I'm kind of trying to figure out what I'm going to do here. So I may just paint this the same color as this lid and then go back and mask off that and mask off this. But this would really benefit from some new bolts, because all they did was went in and painted the whole dang thing, so the bolts and all got painted, which I can't stand. That drives me crazy. But I got a little bit of cleanup to do, so I'm going to get started. This is the bolts, the original bolts from it, and this is, you can see all the sand packed in there from where they blasted it with all the suspension on, which I kind of can't believe that. But I've got the center link, I've got it all cleaned up. I sanded it down a little bit, and this is ready to be epoxy primed, and it'll get painted the urethane single stage black along with the A-arms and stuff. So I'm going to try to put a few cast iron gray details on this black chassis to kind of give it some pop, so it ends up making it look like new parts bolted on instead of just spray painted old original parts. There's the new idler arm bearing conversion put in, and I painted it cast iron gray and got it all bolted down. That looks really, really nice on there. So just detailing. Alright guys, so I did a little bit of work here on this some assembly required rig. So steering box got detailed. I do have to pull these out and put some stainless lock washers under them. I don't have any. I'm gonna have to go to the store and get some. So they're not tight, I just run them down. But I put a brass plug in it. I took the rag joint part apart, and then I soaked the bolts and stuff in some degreaser, and it pulled that paint that was on them, because somebody had spray painted the whole thing black, bolts and all, and the zinc coating's still on the bolts, so all the hardware looks brand new again. So I think that, you know, for a little bit of detail it looks pretty nice. But the top piece I painted semi-gloss black, and then the rest is cast iron gray. So I had these set bolts out of here. These are Allen set screws with nuts to lock them down. They have welded this right here, but there's no divot drilled into that shaft for this to go into. This is just basically going down onto that, so I'm not happy with that. That's kind of scary to me. So what I'm going to do is, you know, I don't know who welded that, so I don't trust it, basically. So I'm going to pull these back out. They're not tight, but I'm going to pull them back out. I'm going to try to put a little brass piece of sleeve in there, tubing, and then put a drill bit down in there and kind of divot that a little bit so these screws will go down the end of that shaft just a little bit. It has 2 set screws on it. So anyway, I got that to do, but I cleaned on the wire wheel the factory bolts and painted them, and then I put brand new hardware on the nuts and lock washers. Those are fine thread, they're 3/8 by 24, and I go through my stuff here that's new, extra miscellaneous bolts that I have here, so Steve doesn't have to pay anything, you know what I mean, because I had the stuff here. But anyway, that got new nuts and washers. The idler arm came with new nuts and washers and bolts, but anyway, it's really looking good up here. So I got the leaf springs installed and the new shackle hangers and the new bolts up front, and everything's tight. I greased all this stuff with a little bit of grease, so it works pretty smooth. But yeah, a little bit of work, man, just a little bit. So I'm pretty happy with that. But, we got a few more days of really awesome weather, and I'm really hoping I can get quite a bit done this week. I should be able to anyway, but I'd love to get the frame back as a roller and maybe get it back under the car, but we'll just have to wait and see, because I still have to do car paint on stuff. Usually when you use car paint on stuff, you need to at least let it set a day or two, you know. If you don't have a baking booth, I should say. I need to let it set probably a good couple of days before I try to bolt anything to it or on or anything like that, because it'll just ruin the paint with the bolts, you know. But it's 4:30 p.m. and that's a full day in. Now I got to pick up all this mess and put everything up, so kind of sucks. So I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.